Hola y bienvenidos a la Daily Hustle. Soy Enrique Byrnes y presidente es el mejor tequila. Y 818 es el mejor tequila. No abate por No Filter Network. Miguelito San Dieguito, a.k.a. Bobby Ball. Not with us today, but job or no job, dead or alive, we continue to properly salute him. Yes, 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 yes. Woo! Remember this, folks. When we are juiceful, we are useful. And when we are juiceless, we are fucking useless. A very pleasant good morning to you. Today is Monday, August 14th, 2023. I just completed today's Daily Hustle. I have not even sent it out in the email form yet. And by the way, if you would like to sign up for the Daily Hustle newsletter that comes out 3 to 5 days a week, please go ahead and do that at ericbyrnes.com. Today's title, shit, I didn't even title it. That's funny. So basically, I was ripping through the old Let Them Playbook, and I came across August 14th. And August 14th just so happened to be the day that we rode into Wrigley Field on the Triathlon Across America 5 years ago. Looking back upon that now, number one, it was fucking crazy. I don't know what we were thinking. Especially the riding element of it. That was the one that was just absolutely nutso. And the reason being is that the navigational hazards that we had to endure, whether it was the weather or it was the technical difficulties with the bikes, including at least 100 flat tires that happened along the way, there was, when I say like dirt roads, like literally dirt fucking roads. Like it was out in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming. Specifically, I remember just riding on the moon. I actually have the cross bike right down here. I was going to take out for a little rip because I haven't ridden it since the Tri Across America. But we bought that bike specifically because I had to ride on the dirt roads. And so I was riding on the dirt roads with my tri bike and my road bike, and it wasn't happening. I mean, there was one flat after another. So what the cross bike does, the gravel bike, it just basically gives you a thicker tire that's able to cut through the dirt and the rocks and everything without blowing out. So anyhow, as we went through these towns, they were anything from old ghost towns in rural Nevada to Salt Lake City. Then there was obviously, the path was started in Oakland, and it went from Oakland to Stockton to Kirkwood, which is like south of Lake Tahoe, and then on into Nevada. And from there, it was Nevada up to Utah. That was the sketchiest part. It was just the highway and the road that had, say, a very minimal, we call it a bike lane, like a shoulder, but it was so fucking sketch that we literally had to have Tara and the Let Them Play vehicle right behind us so we didn't get run off the road by semis. I mean, that was it. Because we tried it without, and these semis would go by, and you get this, like, say, aero position, doing 20 some odd miles per hour. The good thing is it was fast. I mean, probably there was times when we were averaging 25, 30 miles per hour, but I'm down here in aero position, semi goes by. So what it does is it blows you almost off the road completely. And then it's like this force that comes back and it whips you back out into the road. So that was just about as sketchy as could be. But anyhow, I was reflecting upon that today because this was the day that we rode into Wrigley Field. And I remember pulling up in front of Wrigley and just some waves of emotions that I was overwhelmed with, and the reflection back upon all that we had endured over the previous 20-something days. And I was just thinking about how grateful that I was for all of it. And not just the easy rides and not just obviously the difficult and challenging times were there too, but it was everything and everything in between. And each day had its own story. Each day wrote its own script. And there was no way that I could even anticipate what that script was going to say and what it was going to be and whether it had to do with road conditions or, so I think sometimes just emotions too, and knowing how we were all going to react and be on that certain day. Because what happens when you go into a pain cave like that, so to speak, and you deal with whatever it is that you deal with on an arduous journey, there's some days that I couldn't even explain to you, but they were fucking tough. And it was tough to get up. It was tough to get going. And then once you are going, it's just, you have this chip on your shoulder. And whether that was me, whether that was Tara, whether that was Kowalski, whether it was our kids, we didn't know. But I think we all went through those times together and we supported one another. And I think the beautiful part about it is that we kind of knew and understood it too. So when you are able to grasp that concept that every day is not going to be perfect and every moment is not going to be this cheerful, blissful, whatever moment, then you're able to deal with all of it a lot better. And then also, I think that you're able to reflect upon what had happened, learn from your experiences, and then let those mold and shape, whether it's the rest of your journey or the rest of your life. So, anyhow, that's what I wrote about this morning, hiking on the treadmill before today. So here is today's daily hustle, untitled, that will go out here shortly via email. 5 years ago today, Kowalski and I pulled into Wrigley Field on our bikes, which completed a 2,400 plus mile ride from Oakland to Chicago as part of the Let Them Play Triathlon Across America. After averaging roughly 110 miles for 22 straight days, to say my ass was relieved would be a massive understatement. Each day was its own journey that came complete with its own lessons. But the last 2 days of the ride exemplified the wide range of destruction and hardship, as well as the beauty and bliss our country and journey had to offer. Just 2 weeks before, we arrived in Marshalltown, Iowa. Much of the city was flattened when a tornado ripped through the town. However bad I envisioned the remnants of a tornado would be, it was 10 times worse when the crew suggested avoiding the devastated area. When we came together and collectively made the decision that problems don't get solved by avoiding them, they get solved by facing them head on. When we arrived, we went to what was left of the local police station and then got a tour from officers Dave and Nick of much of the damage throughout town. We were all emotionally moved and wanted to do whatever we could to help. So before taking off, we left a significant grant for the Children's Services Bureau to help rebuild a playground that was destroyed in the tornado. Then we hopped on our bikes and 106 miles later arrived at Field of Dreams in Dyersville, Iowa, and laid eyes on one of the most beautifully euphoric places I've ever seen in my life. In just a few hour period, it literally felt as if we went from hell to heaven. After completing the final 200 miles into Chicago, I couldn't help but reflect upon all the different places and things we got to experience along the way. Of course, it was nice to have the days where the ride was complete with easy rolling hills through storybook towns with gorgeous weather and zero technical problems. Yet not shocking, it was the 100+ degree days with thousands of feet of climbing through rough towns and desolate areas, dealing with multiple flat tires and extreme weather, complete with torrential downpours, wild winds, and lightning strikes within feet, that I will undoubtedly remember most. There was Marshalltown, there was Dyersville, and there was everything in between. Regardless of where the ride took us or what the day brought, I'm extremely grateful for all of it. It is only through the perceived rough places, dirt roads, and challenging times that we are able to truly appreciate when the path just so happens to be conveniently cleared in front of us. With every hardship comes opportunity for growth. And as our dude Dr. Seuss so brilliantly reminds us, it's not about what it is, it's about what it can become. So I ran across that Dr. Seuss quote like afterwards, and I didn't try to force it in. Like, I was reading some things about ashes to beauty, and there's a beautiful Bible verse. Let's see if I can pull it up. When it talks about ashes to beauty, let's see here. I was just on this. Yeah, one of the favorite Bible passages is Isaiah 61:3. To bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. So, with that, though, is with ashes, again, is opportunity. And when you go through a Marshalltown, Iowa, that had just been hit with this tornado, and you see the devastation, there's a couple ways that we can approach this. And this is going on with, obviously, the wildfires in Maui that were just, it's so horrific to watch. And I don't even think we realize here on the mainland how big of a deal that those fires have been. And now there's nearly 100 people confirmed dead and still a ton of people missing. I'm not going to try to spin this in any way that is going to make light of, say, a situation like they're dealing with in Maui currently right now. But so long as we're living and so long as we're here, and it's sort of like, say, the cycle of the wildfires, right? Like, ironically, it's part of nature where every so many years, it literally, it's like nature, resetting itself. Now, it doesn't make any of this any easier or okay, or it doesn't mean there wasn't any devastation, because obviously, it was horrific. There's no other way to put it. We have to understand that through this challenging times, whether it was a try across America or you're dealing with natural disasters, wildfires and tornadoes and everything else, is also an opportunity to strengthen and to come together and to build. And that was, in a lot of ways, what I experienced on that try across America, because every day and every little thing that we had to deal with and seeing, the the worst of the worst, the best of the best. The Dr. Seuss quote stuck a little bit because it's like, life is, I think it is what it is now, right? But what is it about? It's about us envisioning what it can become. No matter what we're looking at, no matter what we're doing, no matter what industry you're in, that's the only thing that fucking matters is, what is this here? What is this now? But what can it become? And so when it came to the Marshalltown thing, we had a really, Tara and I talked about extensively about this, trying to obviously avoid the area. They told us to avoid the area. Like, it was just said, like, hey, like, everyone at this point, avoid Marshalltown. Like, it's a fucking ghost town. Well, there wasn't a ghost town because the police officers were there, and there were still families there, and there's people there, and they were attempting to clean up. There were a couple big, machines taking out rubble. We're talking brick buildings, man. Holy shit. Like, that was, when you see the huff, the puff, I'm gonna blow your fucking house down, like that's the real deal, the Three Little Piggies. That, I couldn't believe it. Because you just don't think, especially when you see those brick buildings and stuff, right? You're like, oh yeah, they're fine. No, dude, there's a pile of bricks. That was it. It was literally piles of bricks. So being able to experience that, and then being able to experience Iowa in such a short period of time, it's like, yeah, okay, that's Marshalltown now, and this is Dyersville, and maybe it'll always be Dyersville and whatever, and Field of Dreams, but you can build that up, and this is the extremes that we saw in one day, and then from there, then now you're going to Chicago, and you're just seeing the big city, and it's, I don't know, there wasn't a favorite place for me. There was just places that I was able to learn from, that I was able to experience, and I'm grateful for every one of them. So anyhow, onward and upward here. Today, by the way, read an article last night that I wanted to share. This is a life optimization podcast, first and foremost. We're going to get into some baseball here shortly as well. Cedric Mullins, what a fucking day for the Orioles yesterday. But there's an article here, 3 words emotionally intelligent people use that helps build and strengthen relationships. I'm like, really? 3, just 3 words. So in the article, it basically says this: emotionally intelligent people use a brilliant 3-word phrase to understand others and build strong relationships. Quote, what have you been doing all morning? That's what stumbled out of my mouth as I came home from an early morning appointment. As owners of a small business, my wife and I share responsibilities of running our company and the household. She had been taking care of the kids, and the place looked like a disaster area. I know that feeling. Instead of doing the smart thing, pausing and thinking, I spit out the question. Big mistake. My wife let me know what she had been doing all morning, working like crazy, making breakfast, chasing after kids, and playing with them. Answering the phone, she barely had time to catch her breath. But it was only a few days later when I fully understood, as it was my turn to take care of the kids, and I experienced the madness firsthand. When my wife came home and saw my look of exasperation and an even bigger mess than a few days ago, she didn't need to say a word. She knew I needed to learn from this experience. How could I learn to pause, think, and show more understanding so that I strengthen my relationships instead of undermining them? I discovered a simple 3-word phrase that helps me do just that. I don't know. Why is this phrase so effective? The reason has to do with the meaning behind the phrase and its foundation of emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage emotions. If you find value in this lesson, you might be interested in my free course. It teaches you how to build emotional intelligence. Yeah, okay. How to understand others and show empathy. In a recent call, we spoke about another 3-word phrase that can help you practice emotional intelligence when someone says or does something you interpret as insensitive or ignorant. They don't know. As a refresher, here's how it works. Someone says something insensitive. You silently think to yourself, they don't know. The goal isn't to look down on the other person. It's simply recognizing there's no possible way they can know what it's like to walk in your shoes. Acknowledging this frees you from attaching too much emotional significance to what they've said. Now it's time to flip the coin. You must also remember that there's no way you can know what it's like to walk in another person's shoes. So you shouldn't be quick to assume or judge. In other words, sometimes you have to remind yourself that I don't know. Bam. Okay, so the deal with the I don't know is basically along the same lines of you'll never understand who that person is and why they are who they are until you, quote unquote, have walked a mile in their shoes, which, of course, you haven't walked a mile in their fucking shoes. So you don't know. I do think that there's more probably understanding when you say, take a Major League Baseball player. We used to deal with this all the time. When, say, for example, there's autograph seekers that are standing out in front of a hotel. And you might walk by and not sign. You're going to Starbucks. And I don't get me wrong, like a lot of times I did. But you go to a Starbucks, you have your workout that you got to get to. You got to get there for early treatment, like all this stuff. Well, if you're an outsider and you're looking at this, you're like, dude, what the fuck, man? Why won't this guy just stop and sign autographs? Or even before a game, right? Like up the line. What people don't know, what the outsiders don't know, is that number one, say if you're at the hotel, 95% of those people are autograph collectors that do this shit for a living. So they're literally like taking your assigned card and it's going to end up on eBay the next fucking day. That's number one. Number two is that, say, from a signing and a game perspective, well, what happens is you stop and sign one, then you're going to keep signing and signing and signing. Like the thing's not going to stop. But unless you've played Major League Baseball, played professional baseball, or, you know, this obviously is the same with any other sport, it's tough to grasp that concept of, oh man, like, why would they ever not sign an autograph? So you don't know. And so we're all so quick to judge in our lives, especially when we have no idea about what that other person may be dealing with from a psychological standpoint, from a personal relationship standpoint, from a career standpoint. We don't know. From a health standpoint, we don't know what's going on. And I mean, I know I forget where I read it, and definitely in a book, and it was just recently too. But they were talking about this man who was on a subway in New York City. And the dude's sitting there and he's got his kids with him. And the kids are, I don't know, let's say 6 and 4. And they're running all over the subway and they're getting in people's way and they're kind of causing a commotion. And all this lady could think was, wow, like, come on, dude, control your fucking kids. Like, this isn't a jungle gym. This is a subway. And they're just causing this huge disturbance and they're making all kinds of noise. And so finally the lady said something like, "Excuse me, sir, can you keep control of your kids?" And yeah, whatever. And he kind of like slowly lifts up his head. He goes, I'm sorry, ma'am. I really am. I'm just a little out of it. We're just coming home from the hospital where they lost their mother, and I guess we're all dealing with it a different way. And how do you think that made, obviously, the person who said it, whatever, feel? So you just don't know. You don't know what anybody else is dealing with. And so before we rush to judgments, I think it's important that either we try to figure out more or we just brush it off and move on. Okay, Major League Baseball. Dude, this was wild yesterday. If you guys did not see what happened in Seattle, like, you're missing out. This is now turning into one of the highest attendance years ever in Major League Baseball, which is really, really cool. But yesterday, the game of the day was the Baltimore Orioles at the Seattle Mariners. And I mean, it was a fantastic pitching matchup. I mean, just even the way the whole game went, it was Baltimore scored first. Seattle came back at the bottom of the second, tied it up. Seattle took the lead 2-1. And, Seattle's fighting for a playoff spot, too. Then the O's came back up on top, then they tied it up in the sixth inning. Then in the top of the ninth, the O's scored one. In the bottom of the ninth, Cedric Mullins is the Baltimore Orioles center fielder. And Ty France hit a fucking bomb out to right center field, like line drive, just rising. And Cedric Mullins goes back, and he's left-handed, so I'll do it like this. Comes back, leaps up over the wall, falls down to the ground, and pulls back a homer. One of the sickest plays I've ever seen. And then, given the situation of the game and being up one, it was just insane. It's just in the same place. So then after that, though, this gets better. After that, the dude from the Mariners comes up, and now there's 2 outs. And let me see here. Who was it? There's a Mariners. It was Canzone. Dominic Canzone, the Italiano. He then comes up right after Cedric Mullins made that play, and he hits a bomb to tie the game. And the M's broadcast, of course, are like, catch that. Well, then the next inning, Cedric Mullins comes to the plate, and he hits and this is in the 10th, the next innings now, and he hits a 2-run homer to win the game. Just one of the better, I don't know, call it innings that I think anyone could ever have. They're saying that it was the first time in the past 10 years, and I didn't read who exactly it was, but first time in the past 10 years that someone had robbed a homer in the 9th inning or later, and then come back and hit a game-winning homer themselves. So I'd say, again, like, this is something that happens very rarely. So anyhow, around Major League Baseball, the other scores, Red Sox 6-3 over the Tigers. Trevor Story. Holy shit, he's still playing, huh? Good for him. He had a 4-hit day. And then Duvall, let's see here. What did Duvall do? Duvall had a 3-run homer. A's, they really fucked this up, man. They were up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-2 going into the bottom of the 9th inning. And the Washington Nationals scored 6 runs in the bottom of the 9th. I mean, you can't make this shit up. Jeter Downs, a walk-off hit for the Nats, and I mean, what a disaster of a season it's been for the A's. I don't know if you guys saw it over the weekend too. It's going to make the dumbass play of the week, which was a ground ball back to one of the A's pitchers who then was running over to first base. And I just start jogging over to first base. And whoever it was that hit it, so I could busted his ass down the line, and he beats him. My favorite reaction was Eric Young Jr., who was just going apeshit. It was so awesome as he, whoever it was hit first base. And it's just one of those plays where you see someone dogging. It's almost like ADD set in. I don't know what it was. It's like he got the ball, he started running, and he didn't know what to do with it, and that was it. So it's just real tough season for the A's. They're 33-85. They're over/under on a win total for the year, by the way, because we took the over on this. Giuseppe, Pepe, Manueli, and I is 59. 59. And I'm thinking to myself before the season, why? Like 59 games, geez, that's not a lot. And Mark Kotsay is going to put together a group. They're going to go out there and compete. The A's always have, even if they're playing with all minor leaguers, they always have a really good minor league system. They're not going to bring up guys that aren't big leaguers or are going to be big leaguers. It's a great developmental system, program, whatever. I'm like, there's no way they're losing 100 games. Oh, they are losing 100 games. They're losing fucking way more than that. I guess Joe was saying they'd have to play 500 on in for them to hit that 59. I don't see it happening. I just don't. The Reds fall to the Pirates 4-2. Triolo for the Buccos had his first career home run. And then Matt McClain, the UCLA kid, an RBI double for the Reds. The Reds are somewhat reeling, though. They're 61-58 now. The Pirates 53-64 after that hot start. But wait, this was a doubleheader. That's right, because Saturday's game was postponed. So in the nightcap, the Reds came back and beat the Buccos 6-5. And you had a Fairchild who played the go-ahead run for Cincinnati, and then Ellie De La Cruz, fan favorite here, No Filter Network, a 442-foot swamp donkey for the Cincinnati Reds. Twins 3-0 over the Phillies. Golly, as soon as I thought the Phillies were getting hot, then they go ahead and drop a couple to the fucking Twins. Jordan Luplow, a solo homer for Minnesota, and Jorge Polanco, an RBI single. The Phillies, nothing offensively, although they're still in prime position to make the playoffs, as are the Twins. Phillies 65-54, Twins 62-58. Blue Jays get a big win over the Cubs yesterday, 11-4 in Toronto. Whit Merrifield, a 4-hit game, and Dalton Varsho, a 3-run homer for the Bluebirds. Tampa Bay, 9-2 losers to the Guardians, and they got some more issues. Wander Franco was held out of the game, and then apparently he's not traveling with the team to San Francisco. Social media posts, I don't know. I read a little bit about it. I don't want to get into any of the details of it until I know more, because right now it's a lot of he said, she said, and it just looks like a pretty fucked up situation. So I'll reserve judgments and comments until more information comes out. Gabriel Arias, though, a 2-run homer for the Guardians, and Andres Jimenez, a 4-hit game for the Guardians, formerly Indians, as well. New York Yankees, they fuck up another one. Geez, this is almost as bad as the A's. The Yanks were up by 4 runs going into the bottom of the 9th inning, and what happens? Miami scores 5. The Marlins beat the Yankees 8-7. Holy shit. Luis Arraez, a 3-hit game for the Fish. The Fish are now 62-57. They're hanging in there for that last wild card spot. in the National League. The Yankees 60-58. Angels 2-1 winners over the Astros. They're still below 500 though, so it doesn't help that much. Shohei Ohtani, his 41st homer of the year for the Angels, and then Randall Grichuk had a nice diving catch for the Halos. Brewers 7-3 over the White Sox. Giants, in Bruce Bochy's return, they lost their first two games to the Texas Rangers, and then they pulled this one out on a walk-off home run from Patrick Bailey, his sixth of the year. This is a guy that I'd love to see get some. I know he's not going to win the National League Rookie of the Year, and nor does he deserve it. But you have Corbin Carroll, you have Ellie De La Cruz. Can we at least start putting his name in with those guys? Just what he's doing defensively behind the plate for the San Francisco Giants is fucking huge. So Patrick Bailey, a line drive to left field that just snuck over the wall for a two-run homer. They were on the brink of getting swept. So, that was a huge hit for the Gigantes. They're now 63-55. Dodgers beat the Rockies. Pretty sure that ended up being a sweep there. Mookie Betts, a two-run double. Alan Trejo, a two-run homer. I guess that's for the Rockies. Padres fall to the D-backs 5-4. D-backs are back to 500. Padres are 56-62. So I guess this weekend was an alumni weekend or some sort of celebration where they invited back all the alumni of the Arizona Diamondbacks. I somehow missed the memo. I apologize. I don't know. I mean, typically, I would have loved to have been at something like that. Thought it would have been really cool to just see all the guys more than anything. I heard Chad Tracy was there. Brandon Webb was there. Then you had the staples like Agonzo and Randy Johnson. But, yeah, I talked to my wife last night because I actually was getting messages on Twitter and Instagram. And I go, honey, like, what the fuck? Why did the Diamondbacks not invite me to the alumni reunion thing? And she goes, what are you talking about? She was, I got the invitation. I asked you about it. And you're just kind of like, oh, yeah, we deal with it later. And, well, I guess that was deal with it later. I never dealt with it. So I ended up missing an opportunity to see those guys. But overall, I think you look at it, and it's pretty cool just to be a part of that organization. It's a young organization. I think, what is it? Was it the 25th reunion of the team? And I was there, really in the early going. I'm not sure it's at 25 because they came in. Why do I feel like they came in like 93? Am I wrong on that? If it's 93, then it's 03, then it's 13, then it's 23. Shit, it'd be 30 years of the team. Hold on. Siri, what year did the Diamondbacks begin playing Major League Baseball? It says the Diamondbacks play the Rockies at 5:40 p.m. today. Thank you, Siri. Anyhow, it was about that time, but I think with any of those alumni or reunion type things, they're super cool. And more than anything, as much as I say, I guess, for the fans, but I think for the players, like the players are the ones that really have an opportunity to enjoy that. I'd love to get back with the Diamondbacks and do something with them. I spent some awesome years there, still have a place in Scottsdale. So definitely something, a team. There was a time I was talking to Derek Hall about potentially doing some broadcasting with them too. And that was pretty soon after I got done, but I don't know. I haven't heard much from him lately. O's. 5-3 winners over the Mariners. We talked about that game. And then last night, the Atlanta Braves go into New York, and they were going for the sweep. They scored 3 runs in the top of the first inning. But then the Mets come back and scored 6 in the bottom of the 5th. And then what does Atlanta do? They score 1 in the top of the 7th, 2 in the top of the 8th to make it 7-6. But that's how it ended. Kodai Senga, 7 strikeouts for the New York Mets. And then I believe it was Matt Olson with his, you ready for this? I mean, this is just crazy. Matt Olson has over 1,000 OPS, by the way. He's hitting 273. He was always good with the A's, but he was never an average guy. But this guy is, I mean, he's coming to his own and beyond. Let's see here. HR. Yep, Matt Olson is 43rd fucking homer. 43rd. Let's do some math here. Dude, he can get 60, can he? This is mid-August. For a player to hit, I don't know, is it, in theory, he can hit 20 home runs between now and the end of the year. That'd be a lot. I mean, it'd be a shit ton. But he could hit 60. I mean, 17 more homers. And this guy's at 60. And if he continues on the pace that he's on, look out. All right, the power rankings. A huge shakeup since the deadline. Let's see here. It says one thing to make or not to make moves at the trade deadline, but until games start up. Again, with new rosters, major players in new cities, nobody actually knows how it will all play out. We've now had a full 11 days of baseball since our last power rankings. As you can see, a lot has changed. We've had some dramatic climbers and some precipitous fallers. It was difficult to see much of it coming. Some teams that made a lot of moves have dropped, and some who mostly stayed put have risen. But one thing is clear, 11 days suddenly feels like a long time. Here's where everyone stands in this week's rankings. The biggest jump. The day of the trade deadline, the Mariners lost at home to the Red Sox and traded away closer Paul Sewald. Not exactly the combo that gets everybody excited, particularly when they were sinking in a crowded wildcard chase. So, of course, they promptly won 8 games in a row, including a devastating for the Angels 4-game sweep in Anaheim. That's where the Angels fucking lost it. I mean, you had Seattle coming in your home building after you make moves and they're selling dudes and you get swept. It says they're now only 1.5 games out of the final wildcard spot that launched them a whooping 9 spots and the power rankings all the way up to number 9. The biggest drop. You can understand why the Reds, a team loaded with young talent, would hesitate to give any of it away at the deadline, even if they were in the thick of both the wild card and NL Central chase. But it sure looks like they could have used some help this month. They kicked off August with a 6-game losing streak and 8 of their first 9. They've fallen into 3rd place in the division. They got some help from teams around them, though, and they're still just a half game out of the wild card spot. That is crazy. All right, power rankings top 5, numero uno. Not surprising, the team with the best record in baseball, the Bravos, 75-42. Number 2, the Dodgers. Well, look who's back. Oh, man. Number 3, the O's. I mean, these are all World Series teams. And don't fuck with the Rangers, too, by the way. I mean, this team is nasty. Rangers are number 4. They're 70-48. It says, at the deadline, it felt like the Astros were making their moves on the Rangers. Houston was just 1 game back, and they just traded for Justin Verlander. The Rangers responded by winning their first 8 games of August, with much of the success thanks to new additions, Max Scherzer and Jordan Montgomery. They now have a little breathing room between them and their in-state rivals, but just a little. Astros aren't going anywhere, but both those teams are going to make the playoffs. And then number 5, the Rays. You wonder how the Wander Franco thing is going to affect the Rays going forward. So here they are. You guys want the top 20? Yeah, let's go for it. Braves, Dodgers, Orioles, Rangers, Rays. Astros are at 6. Phillies, Blue Jays, Mariners, Brewers, Giants, Cubs, Twins, Red Sox, and Yankees. How did they still have Yankees? Barely. I guess they're probably where they should be. They're number 15. Reds are at 16. And Marlins 17. Padres 18. Diamondbacks at 19. And then the Angels sneaking in there at 20. All right. Quick look at the standings now that we got through the power rankings. It's Baltimore on top in the East. Tampa, 3 back. Toronto's 8 back. Minnesota on top of the Central. Texas on top of the West. The wild card in the AL looks like this. Tampa, Houston, and Toronto. Seattle's a game and a half back. Don't sleep on Boston, though. They're only 3 back. New York's 5 back. They're going to have a tough task because all the teams they're going to have to jump, and they're not going to catch Baltimore. So it looks like we're going to have a postseason without the Yankees for the first time, and I have fucking no idea. I feel like they make postseason every single year. In the National League, you have the Dodgers on top of the West. They've won 8 in a row. Holy shit. Milwaukee has won 4 in a row. They're on top of the Central, and Atlanta, of course, is on top of the East. In the wild card, though, you have Philly, San Francisco, and Miami. But this is where it gets good. You have the Cubs and Cincinnati are both a half game back, and then the Diamondbacks, who are back at 500 now, are 2.5 back. And for those who care about the San Diego Padres, they are 3-7 in their last 10 and 5.5 back of the last wild card spot. Today, let's see here what we got for games. Typically, Monday is not a huge slate. You got the Astros at the Marlins. It starts at 3:40 p.m. Pacific time. Pirates at the Mets. Yankees at the Braves. Holy shit, that's going to be a series. That'd be fun. Max Fried on the mound going up against Schmidt tonight at 4:20 p.m. Pacific time. That's 7:20 p.m. Eastern. The A's are at the St. Louis Cardinals beginning at 4:45 p.m. The Angels are at the Rangers. I feel like they just play each other every single game. Mariners go to Kansas City. The Diamondbacks are in Colorado taking on the Rockies. This is a series that they got to go in there and sweep. I mean, this is a real good opportunity. Flex it on the mound with a 7.92 ERA for the Colorado Rockies. Diamondbacks have a TBD, so I don't know if they're going to go with a bullpen game or what. The Orioles are at the Padres. That's the Manny Machado series. It should be a fun one. And then the Rays, Tyler Glasnow on the mound for Tampa. He's got a 3.15 ERA. He's nasty. Going up against Walker, who's got a 4-1 record with a 2.40 ERA for the Gigantes at 6:45 p.m. Pacific time tonight. Taking a look at some weather. Why not? Because we haven't done it for a while here. Truckee, California, 71 degrees. It did feel warm. This is kind of weird because it's kind of humid outside. 71 degrees, mostly cloudy, a high of 78 today. Half Moon Bay, California, Giuseppe Pepe Manuele, 62 degrees, high of 67, low of 55. Of course, this is a personalized weather report. If you like your own personal weather report, just let me know. Fire away in the chat or hit me up on a DM just because I record these at different times. But I definitely will give you and your hometown some love. You just don't get it anywhere else. New York City, we do this for Chief Waters and the crew. 85 degrees, high of 87, low of 72, cloudy skies. Phoenix, currently 94 degrees, high of 109, low of 85. So Kowalski and Michelle Drew and the rest of the crew staying nice and cool out there. Auburn, California, Montgomery family, Griffins, Pontarollos, 83 degrees, high of 96. Holy shit, it's that much hotter down the hill. It's crazy. Like 20 degrees at least. Duluth, Minnesota, Gene, good morning to you. 68 degrees, mostly sunny, high of 71. But look out. We got a beach hazard statement. National Weather Service beach hazard statement. Let's see what we got. Severity moderate. Possible threat to life or property. The description, beach hazard statement in effect for this evening. What dangerous swimming conditions are expected along the Lake Superior shoreline due to high wave action and strong rip currents? So be careful if you decide to go for a dip, Gene. Chattanooga, Tennessee, AMO, 90 degrees high, 94 low, 71. We know Ramos having a fantastic year. Why? Because he's a diehard Braves fan. San Mateo, California, Gary Tagliafico. Where the fuck have you been, man? 68 degrees high, 77 out there in San Mateo. Long live the Peninsula Mets. Las Vegas, Nevada, Michael, 90 degrees high of 103, low of 78. Savannah, Georgia, the land of the Platanos, 94 degrees high of 96, low of 80. Abundant sunshine through the course of the day. How about the Batoyan family out there in Fresno? 88 degrees high of 105. Jeez. It's still that hot in Fresno? It's going to be 106 the next couple of days, too. Bakersfield, Buckwheat, 89 degrees high of 105 as well. No clouds in the sky. Stephen Luker, Hemet, California, 81 degrees high of 97, low is 65. And how about John Emmanuel Ramos, Henderson, Makati City, 81 degrees, high of 90, low of 81. At 3 a.m., of course, we got thunder showers coming your way. Right now, it's midnight out there. Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Duncan Dad, 83 degrees, high of 87, low of 66. Possible thunder showers as well. Montgomery, Alabama, home of the Biscuits. 95 degrees, high of 98, low of 75. And how about Jesse Byrnes in Germantown, Wisconsin? My brother from another mother. 63 degrees, and it's fucking raining, dude. Awesome. Enjoy the wet weather. Orchard Park, home of the Buffalo Bills, as well as Pat O'Connell, the Busey brothers out there in Geneseo. It's close enough to you. 73 degrees, high of 77, low of 62. It looks like it's gorgeous. Look out for some rain heading your way tomorrow. South Haven, Mississippi, out there in that Memphis area, 78 degrees, high of 78, low of 65. So kind of cool in the south, but it looks like we have thunderstorms coming, as we dealt with just about every day in South Haven. So there's your own personal weather report. Everyone have a fantastic day. We'll get out of here with some James Allen as typical. As a man thinketh. Should we go Serenity? Yeah, let's do it. Serenity. Calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort and self-control. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. A man becomes calm in the measure that he understands himself as a thought-evolved being, for such knowledge necessitates the understanding of others as a result of thought. And as he develops a right understanding and sees more and more clearly the internal relations of things by the action of cause and effect, he ceases to fuss and fume and worry and grieve and remains poised, steadfast, serene. James Allen, As a Man Thinketh. If you have not picked up a copy, do so now. Golden nuggets of wisdom each and every single day. All right, deuces wild, back tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow night. Daily Hustle. Be on the lookout. Don't be afraid to tell a friend. Share the program if you're enjoying it. If you're not, well, fuck off. Love you guys. Have a great day. See ya.